Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host and Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum, and this is the show where we discuss how to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal. You can invest in foreclosure and make a ton of money, but we're going to discuss the ethical debate that often cycles around this. People post on my social media, you're taking advantage of people, things of that nature. I really want to dive in today and discuss the ethical debate that surrounds foreclosure investing. Is foreclosure investing a good thing? Hang around. We're going to discuss that today. It's going to be a great show. Stay tuned. Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host, Donnie Corum, and this is the show where we discuss how to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal with a minimum target profit of $25,000 through what we call the foreclosure profit system, where you get to employ the resources of an entire team of foreclosure investing professionals who have over 100 years of experience to help you to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal with a minimum target profit of $25,000 or more. You can do it. You can get that deal. You can change your life financially, and you can make a lot of money doing this. Let's hop into the topic of discussion today because I think it's going to be a good one. A lot of people come to me either when I do speaking events or when I'm my ads that I run on Facebook or LinkedIn and etc. And when you first see foreclosure profit system, right, be honest, what's the visceral response that you get from that? Oh my gosh, you're taking advantage of people who are in a bad situation. People post that on my social media all the time. I can be frank with you, I'm a pretty tough guy. I got a thick skin. However, I struggle with that debate a little bit, only because I know in my heart that foreclosure investing is not only not hurting people, it's generally a good thing for the economy overall, that people are buying these toxic assets off of the bottom of the market, remodeling them and fixing neighborhoods, providing great homes for families, providing tax revenue to the city, etc., the jobs that are provided in construction. I know in my heart that investing at the bottom of the market is just a good idea. I named it foreclosure profit system because there's a lot of real estate investment gurus out there, right? And I didn't want to be real estate profit system, right? That's a little bit obvious. A lot of people are out there touting that. I have individually focused on the foreclosure market for the majority of my 20-year career of investing, honestly, because in a lot of cases when the market is down, like now, it's simply easy pickings. It's the low-hanging fruit of real estate investment. Foreclosures tend to be great deals, but not all deals are foreclosures, and obviously not all foreclosures are deals, right? However, because we're targeting that market, we tend to get better deals in the foreclosure market, primarily because I've been working in that space for so long. I understand the dynamics of how the foreclosure market works. I understand how the HUD system works at the federal government level, how eager they are to offload those properties, the pricing model, how it works, why people can get deals on that. So I've applied that years of knowledge, if you will, to the foreclosure profit system. But not all of our deals are foreclosures. Some are pre-foreclosures or people who are in fact in trouble right now. Some are post-foreclosure, meaning they're bank owned. Some are just properties that are in trouble in the sense that there's a ton of deferred maintenance and they simply want out. They're motivated sellers, and everywhere in between. We buy deals of all shapes and sizes. We name it the foreclosure profit system because it makes it a little more clear about what it is we do. But if you're an outside investor, if you've ever owned a home, if you know somebody who's gone through a foreclosure, and obviously worse still, if you've been through a foreclosure yourself, there's definitely a negative connotation attached to that term of investing in foreclosures. What is an investor to do if they want to ethically invest into something, but they also want to make a profit on it, right? And there's this connotation overwhelming that you're taking advantage of people. Let's start with the different types of things that we buy. And we're going to start with foreclosures. This is about the foreclosure profit system. But when you're buying a foreclosure, who is hurt by that? I want you to think about that for a moment. Who struggles at the hand of foreclosure investors? Someone has already lost their home, right? The foreclosure process is complete at this point. Somebody was making payments on that property for a period of time. For whatever reason in their life, they stop making payments. Very often, the D's of foreclosure play into account. And the three D's of foreclosure investing are death. People pass away all the time. Divorce. Now you had two incomes running a household. Now suddenly, courtesy of divorce, two people are living somewhere else. That can cause foreclosure quite a bit. And I like to say disenchantment. Disenchantment. The disenchantment piece is when you just lost interest in the property, right? You don't want to make the payments anymore. You can't make the payments anymore. You've moved somewhere else. We see a lot of that with military personnel here in the Colorado Springs market because they get transferred somewhere else. If the market's slow like it is now, they can't make the payments in both locations, so they lose interest in the property for whatever that reason happens to be, and they let it go to foreclosure. Okay, who got hurt in this setting? Unfortunately, the person who lost their home already, they're upset, right? They got hurt in that. But by the time the property's actually in foreclosure, it's a HUD repo, a VA foreclosure, a conventional foreclosure, etc. The damage is already kind of done, is it not? That foreclosure process happened long before we as investors got involved in that property, right? There was loss for months or even years prior to that of not making payments on that property. The deferred maintenance continued to rack up. The house got in less and less condition. But by the time we get to it, that damage is fundamentally done, is it not? Right? Let's go into pre-foreclosures. People who still own the property, but they're in a jam right now. I can tell you that somewhere around 90 to 95% of the people we buy houses from who are in pre-foreclosure or they're behind on payments or about to lose it to foreclosure are grateful by the time we get to the closing table. Let me tell you why that's the case. Generally speaking, when you're going through the foreclosure process, the home is stressful. You're getting calls from collectors. You're getting calls from the mortgage company. You will probably have other debt in default as well, right? It's generally not just the home in foreclosure. It's the other homes, other things in your life. Your car payment's probably behind. You're struggling to pay and for food. You're struggling to keep the utilities on. People in foreclosure are generally in a state of stress, okay? So when we get to the closing table in the pre-foreclosure, they are generally happy that that stress is going away. That's been my experience. That's not everybody, okay? I've had angry sellers for sure, people who are not happy to sell at a discount, but the vast majority of the people who are in trouble on their home are generally grateful to our system for buying the home because we were relieving a set of stress. That being said, if we don't show up and buy the property, that stress is not going away. If it's in pre-foreclosure, then it's heading down the same path it was anyway. So when you're struggling with the ethics of this, right, understand that if you're an ethical investor, and I want to parallel this a little bit, you've heard of certified hackers. I actually have a buddy, Rodney, if you're watching, who's a certified ethical hacker. And I thought that was interesting when he first told me about what he did. How can you do something that is perceived as negative, breaking into anything, right, and call it ethical? Well, the reality of certified ethical hacking and the whole thing around that is white hat versus black hat is that people who do this for a profession and they're certified and they're ethical are looking to prevent others from breaking into the system. We actually in the foreclosure market are often trying to prevent other people from taking advantage of that seller's situation, okay? And I can tell you firsthand, I can't speak for every investor out there, okay? But speaking for myself as a man of faith, as a believer, I take stock in the fact that if I can help a seller to stay in their home, if the options allow them not to lose the home to foreclosure, we work extremely hard to do that. Okay. And we do that not because I'm necessarily a good guy, just because my faith and belief system requires that I do right by people whenever I can. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Right. And I truly do live by that. Okay. And I'm not saying that all investors do. I'm saying that I do. Okay. And as a result of that, when I'm dealing with a seller who's in distress, somebody who genuinely needs help, we provide an offer to that person conducive with the fact that we got to make a profit. That's right out of the gate, and I'm very open about that. But we also want to price it fairly so the seller can get something out of the house if it's possible. Whatever that's something is, we try to keep it conducive with the market value as it is based on the repairs that are needed on the property. Okay, so in short, we're not looking to rip people's heads off. The goal is we're trying to be ethical about the offer. Now, I know that doesn't apply to everybody, but for my investors, the people that I work with in foreclosure profit system, all of them have an ethical standard that's not designed to just fully take advantage of people, because this system will not operate under that guise for very long. The problem is there's a lot of guys out there who don't share that desire, right? There's a lot of guys out there who only care about doing the best deal that they can. And I'll be frank, if I felt that way, if I was wired that way, I could probably do more deals. I could probably make a little bit more money if I took the ethical standards out of this. However, I have just found that if you do right by people overall, it's going to benefit you in ways that go well beyond the financial benefits of what we do. Right. So I want to help you with the ethical debate if you're struggling with this. If you're watching this, because people have come to me and go, Donnie, I really want to do what you're doing, but I feel bad taking advantage of people who are in a bad spot. Listen, I really don't think this business is about taking advantage of people. If anything, I think what we do helps people out of a bad situation. You see someone in foreclosure, if it goes back to the bank is completely uncaring, right? They're a large financial institution. When they take that property back at foreclosure, they're not giving the seller anything. They're removing them from the property. They're sending them on their way, and they have to be cold and heartless. I'm not saying the people who work at a bank are cold and heartless people. I'm saying the process of foreclosure is relatively cold and heartless, and it has to be. It's a legal proceeding. Right? Divorce doesn't care about how you feel about your ex-spouse or ex-spouse to be. It has to follow a legal process to separate assets and legal benefits to being married or disadvantages to being married, as that goes. But it's a legal process, right? Foreclosure is a legal process. It does not care how you feel about it. Okay. When it's already in foreclosure, that legal process is over, and we're buying from a bank that could care less about that property. They don't know the history of who was raised in that home. They don't know the story of why the person went into foreclosure. They also were not looking to take advantage of anybody, in my belief system. But there are markets, and we saw that largely in the 2008, 2009 market, where the banks got a little bit greedy. Did they not? We saw them wanting to take foreclosures on because there was so much equity in the market at that time that the banks got a little bit eager to start foreclosing, thinking we'll take the property back, we'll relist it, and we'll gain from that equity. What the banks didn't factor in is they're not in the remodeling business, and there were a lot more foreclosures out there than they could take on. Okay, so I can tell you that today, I believe the banks are a little bit smarter. I believe they're not going to foreclose as much on things. They're going to help sellers try to work out their situation rather than just taking the property. But I could be dead wrong. I think that in this market, there's so much equity available to the banks right now that they might start predatory foreclosure practices again. Okay, we saw a lot of that in between 08 and 2010. We saw a lot of adjustable rate interest rates. We saw the boom of the reverse mortgage, which at the early stages was a very unethical system because it was easy to take advantage of people who didn't understand how the mortgage market worked. But over time, a lot more ethical standards were brought into the reverse mortgage system. And now I believe it's a very solid mortgage vehicle for people who are over 62 and can live on the equity in their home until they pass away, right? And they should just provide a better life. But I've been trying to convince my mom to get a reverse mortgage for ages, and she's just not having it because my grandpa had a very predatory reverse mortgage put on his home. They're still picking up the pieces from that later. And to be honest with you, most, if not all, the equity that he gained during that time was lost to the reverse mortgage. But it wasn't just the mortgage company. It was the family around him that when that money came in, some of it came out in a lump sum payout. They took advantage of that. And that's the problem with elder abuse as it sits today. And unfortunately, my grandpa has people around him who are willing to take advantage of him in that manner. And that's where the reverse mortgage debate gets a little dicey, right? Because there are so much bad actors in that area. The same applies here, right? If you are a bad actor, if you're looking to take advantage of people, real estate investing as a whole is a great place to be. It's very easy to take advantage of people who are unsuspecting. That's just the reality of the business. However, I believe, and I do, maintain an ethical compass throughout the discussion, especially with people who are in a foreclosure situation and they need advisement. They need somebody who cares about their situation. And because I don't believe in scarcity, I know that there's another deal out there coming, so I don't have to worry about just locking in this one deal. If it is not good for all involved, for myself as the wholesale acquisition guy, for the person who's getting out of the property who needs to get out because they're in distress for whatever reason, and they're about to get nothing if it goes to foreclosure. And I really want you to keep that in mind. Ethical investing requires maximizing what you can give the seller while still making a profit. That is always higher than what they were going to get if the house went to foreclosure, because in a foreclosure, they're getting nothing. Okay. In a short sale, they negotiate for cash for keys, and sometimes they'll give them $2,000 or $3,000 to get them out of the property. The bank will let you offer that, right? A little bit more ethical than getting nothing. But in foreclosure, the bank's getting the property as it sits for exactly what's owed, and the seller, no matter how much equity they have in the home, is getting bupkis. Okay. With a real estate investor, we generally, if the seller has significant equity in the home, we generally can give them most of their equity, not all of it, because we got to make a profit, but we can give them most of their equity. And the people who are selling to my system in distress are almost always walking out with a significant check, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 on their equity. Whereas if the property had gone to foreclosure, they would have gotten absolutely zero on that home. Now, if they had $300K worth of equity, 40, 50 grand doesn't sound that great, does it? Right? They should have gotten a lot more about that. And if they had fixed the property up on their own, sold it on the open market, and not gotten in the situation that they were, they might have netted more, significantly more on that deal. But a lot of the people in the pre-foreclosure situation, they don't do the right thing early enough on, and it results a lot of times in surrendering some of that equity. I just believe that ethical investing, people can in fact provide a service where we buy a property for significantly below value from the seller. We still provide a service to them, and we try to do the best we can for them and still make a back end profit. So I don't have any ethical problems with investing in foreclosures, but if we're talking about pre-foreclosures, you have to apply more ethics to that, because you're dealing with a life, somebody's system, etc. When they're already in foreclosure, they're already foreclosed on, like a HUD repo or a VA repo or something like that, not as much ethics are necessary there, right? You're dealing with a bank, and the bank has billions of dollars generally, right? And I'm not saying just to take advantage of banks. I'm just saying they don't tend to lose much money, right? Banks are very good at making money. That's the business that they're in, right? So if I get a foreclosure cheaper, it's already a HUD repo and it's listed at $750 and I can get it for $675. That's a real world example, by the way, that I'm trying to put together a deal on right now. I don't care what HUD gets for that property. I don't care about HUD at all, right? I know that there are people there, but those people are going to get their salary no matter what, right? No matter what the property is sold for. They're generally just administrators, and they're representing the federal government. So they really don't care, because they're spending somebody else's money right now. So if they lose money on a foreclosure listing, there's no sweat out their back at all, right? So you really have to look at the motivation of the people that you're working with. When you're dealing with somebody in the foreclosure process, pre-foreclosure, you want to really apply ethical investing standards and just do right by people. Yes, we have to make a profit. That's required. My team is paid every time we put a deal together. So I got to make a profit. Plus I add a wholesale assignment fee that keeps my team moving. And then the investor in the foreclosure profit system is doing the deal. They got to make a profit too, right? They're not doing this for their health. They are getting into this deal to we find the deal for them. We analyze the deal properly and ethically across the board to make sure it's profitable for both sides. And then we create an offer that will allow for that profit margin. If it works for the seller, they take it. Are we grabbing people and making them sell their home at a discount? Absolutely not. We're looking for distressed sellers, motivated people who need to sell the property at a time in their lives where other things are probably happening, and they're almost always grateful that somebody came to their aid. Okay. And I really want to reset your mindset on this. It is possible to be an ethical foreclosure investor. It's just a matter of determining if that's the route you want to go. And honestly, if it's not the route you want to go, with all due respect, I don't want to work with people like that, right? So during the vetting process for the foreclosure profit system, we're having discussions about where your ethics are, right? What are you looking to do? I fully believe that what we do ultimately helps people to get out of a bad situation that they're in with their property. Sometimes it's their home, sometimes it's just a property they've had for years and they need to let it go. And sometimes it is their home and they're in a bad spot and they need some money to transition to the next spot. They're going through a messy divorce. The spouse on the other side is draining them with legal fees. Maybe they've gone to prison. There's a lot of reasons why people end up in foreclosure. We do our best to solve those problems for people ethically as best we can, still make a profit on the deal and provide a service to the community. The other thing is when foreclosures sit on the market, when we buy them out of foreclosure, we're also helping the neighborhood to improve. Houses that sit for years become drug houses, right? The people break out the windows. They're always problematic when houses sit vacant for a long period of time. So ethical investing, making a profit, also allows us to help the community that those homes are in and provide a nice home to people who want to not only live in that house with their family, but also in a neighborhood that's safe for their children, safe for them, etc., because it's not being dragged down by properties that are in foreclosure or dilapidated or just not in great shape. I believe everything that we do in the foreclosure investing space is good for people overall. I truly do. And I want you to believe that as well, or simply don't do it, right? Yes, we can make money, but it's bigger than the money. It's about your soul. It's about the energy that you're giving out into the universe, right? And for me, the energy that I want to give out in the universe is that I'm here to do a good thing. I got to make a profit for myself and for my family, but I can also do a good thing. Most of the investors that I've worked with over the years share that. I want to say 95% of the people I've worked with investing share that belief system. My mentor, the guy that taught me this business, he really shared that. And that's why it was imparted to me. We can make a lot of money, but we can also do the right thing while making a lot of money. Okay. And if you can do both, you really should not feel bad at all about investing in somebody's distressed situation. You're probably doing them a favor. And if you take that attitude that my job here is to do you a favor, you will find favor with whatever your belief system is. You're going to put an energy out there that's going to come back in droves and allow you to do more deals, make more money, and ultimately help more people, which is really what the foreclosure profit system is about, helping investors to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal with a 25K or minimum profit or more, while making a positive impact in the communities that we serve. All right, that's really our show for today, guys. And I really, it was on my heart to talk to you about this. I do take that seriously. I do take people even suspecting that I'm not at the utmost standards of ethics into account. I want you to know that my entire system is based on helping people, mostly my investors, make a profit. Don't get me wrong. But along the way, we make it a point to be fair and ethical in our ability to invest in real estate, foreclosures in particular. We're not looking to hurt anybody. We're looking to make a difference. With that, this is Donnie Corum, your foreclosure profit system coach and foreclosure deals coach, thanking you once again for tuning in to the show and reminding you now and always, don't buy a house, buy a deal.